the Stetcher deal, you're thinking behind that?
Just a little experience depth. I think a competitive player that gives Todd an option to get in that lineup.
Can you update us on the 25 injuries that you're
All right, I actually wrote it down just so I could understand better. Okay, the closest guys will be Arvidsson and Lemieux, both skating. May join Arvidsson and Bjornfoot. They may join practice this week with us. I think Brendan Lemieux is probably a week past that. Brown Athanasiou not skating, not scheduled to skate soon. Doughty is skating, but needs to be reassessed before we move to another point that would look like bringing into a full practice. So he's a ways yet. Mikey Anderson was a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks date of injury. So, and Matty Roy hopefully will get on the ice by the end of the week, but doesn't. That's still a week or so away.
Is there a danger that Drew would miss the regular season?
It's a little early to say. I think we'll exhaust every option possible. I mean, he's out there skating now, but not participating in drills and things. So that'll be an assessment with the doctor, in the next few days to understand the next step to see if he can come back and play.
The guys who are on the injured list, there's $28 million of salary there. Was there a conversation about moving some of that to LTIR and doing more here?
I think Mike Anderson would have been the longest, 6 to 8 weeks, which projected him middle of April. So LTI, that you have to be able to bring those guys back into your line. Unless they're out for the year. So the one that we knew was out for the year from day one is Sean Walker.
Okay. But did you contemplate any other deals of players with more salary or term here?
We looked at some things, but we also understood the situation we can get ourselves into in the next 2 or 3 weeks with players coming back. Yeah.
Looking at the Stetcher acquisition, how much does the familiarity with a guy like Alex Edler play into that?
It helps. You saw today he was partnered with him right away. I think Todd and Trent, when they talked to him this morning, thought that was the best way to bring him into the group. But again, it was more, some experience there. He's been out with an injury, but back playing now, missed a little bit of time this year. But, to be able to give a little bit more option. We're pretty young on the back end the last few games, and just on the injury report, we don't expect anybody other than Toby, hopefully by the end of next week or end of this week.
And Blake Lazat also presented today.
Yeah.
What qualities does he bring?
Wow.
That you like to...
I think he's really defined himself this year. That line was very productive when healthy for us, and kind of drove the engine of the team, as Todd likes to say it. So it was nice to get him rewarded and get him signed there.
How much did some of these injuries kind of change your plans? Because they all happened so quick and recently. Are you having other plans before they happen?
I'm not sure it changed plans too much. A little different just because of a few of these injuries there's not a real time limit definition on it where I can say, okay, he'll be back in 7 days or be back. So there's gradually week to week for the most part, other than Mikey Anderson being a lot longer term than the other guys.
When you have a player loaned to your AHL team from an NHL team, is that negotiation similar to a trade negotiation, or is it a much easier?
Rich Shealy deals with that. That was more obviously on the American League level, but they work out the terms and different things based off of him just being used in Ontario. Obviously, we can't recall because it's not a official trade there.
Looking at the roster moves this morning, guys going down to Ontario, is that with that NHL deadline to make sure those guys are playoff eligible if and when?
Yeah, to set our current rosters and everything. So there'd be regular recalls. Those 4 went down just after practice, and then we'll make our other recalls to get our roster back to probably I would say 12, 7, and 2 by the looks of it.
Is there an importance to getting some of those younger players potential AF? Obviously, you hope they're in the NHL, but if it's in the AHL, that playoff run experience.
I mean, there's thought of that, but I think our thought up here is giving us the best possible roster to get us in the playoffs up here.
So Rob, how would you characterize what's gone on in the NHL the last several days, and high prices to make it easier for you not to deviate
Well, I think we kind of understood where we were standing, and you know, teams are always in different situations, what they want to do and accomplish, and what they want to try to fix at the deadline. But you pay attention to it all. It kind of unfold the last 4 or 5 days here, and you know, always excitement on deadline day.
How do you feel about your playoff chances given everything that's happened?
Yeah,
the
they're
last
good.
10
These
days or so?
guys have put themselves in a real good spot, but we need to get better. We need our special teams to be much better.
We talked to Todd earlier in the season about the All-Star break being an opportunity for just halfway point reevaluation.
Yeah.
Is the trade deadline offer a halfway point from the halfway point?
Yeah, I think you know, you try to set your roster up the best possible opportunity to help the team continue. Like I said, they put themselves in a real good position, but it gets real difficult here, and we've got some real important games coming up. So
How would you assess Byfield's play so far?
been okay. Been okay. You know, I thought that line since that line was put together here about a week ago has provided some pretty good energy, and you know, gives us 3 centermen with size, and you know, they're not easy to play against those guys. So again, he's 19 years old. It's going to take some time to get into situations where you're going to see more offense from him. But the coaching staff, development staff, everybody's on the same page, and we're working with them.
96, 98 points. Is this team
Yeah.
overachieved? Have they met your expectations overall?
I think we expected to be in this position. I don't know what the final outcome will be. Like I said, the next couple of weeks here are real important for us. But at least the guys are in that position where, you know, you walk into Vegas and it feels different than it did a year ago.
I can't think of another player around the league who's had his trajectory sort of changed as much as Byfield by what's happened with COVID the last couple of years. Just how does that change your sort of how you look at where he's at, where he should be? How do you judge that?
Well,
the changes he's had to go through.
Yeah, I think the injury part, more than the COVID, I think all the players experienced some form of the COVID at some time during the last couple of years. But that injury set him back coming out of camp. I thought he was poised to make the team out of camp. The injury set him back. We tried to get some games in the American League to get him up to speed. And now we're working with him here at the NHL level.
Well, I just meant in terms of the fact that, you know, it allowed him, because there was no junior season.
Yes, to get
got
the
some
extra,
AHL
the
games
American
in.
League games in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a benefit to us. I think Callie probably in that situation too.
Is there a consideration to adding perhaps maybe more of a physical presence, or how do you feel this team is equipped physically to handle the final stretch here?
Well, I think we missed Brendan Lemieux in that situation for sure. I thought he was very effective when he was in the lineup and healthy, and provided that. I think Edler coming back in gives us a little bit of that on the back end that we missed a lot from injury. But yeah, you can always look at different options there.
Has Jordan Spence's season, whether it's in Ontario or now with LA, exceeded expectations?
Yeah, I think you know, when he coming in, we understood what kind of player he was. He made the transition in the American League quick, and you saw it kind of take once Sean Dursey got called up here, because then Jordan got thrown right onto that first unit. Their power play in the American League is very good, and ran through him. And it's been interesting from his time up here, at times playing the most or second most on our D-core. Trent Yanni trusts him out there, so yeah, he's come a long way. But again, I'm not sure Spence and Dursey without injuries would have had this extended length or look at. You know.
Is there something that the organization focuses on off-ice intangibles that makes all of these young players so able to step into these big roles and keep the momentum going?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the process with Mark Unetti and his group, and different characteristics you want in a player. Some can be measured easily and some can't, so there's a lot of history goes into that. And then I think the development, guys that are open to understanding and learning, and Jordan Spence been a real good example of that.
We've heard Todd talk a lot this last week about organizational alignment. Is this week shown that from NHL, AHL down, that you guys are where you want to be in terms of style of play, style of player development?
Yeah.
After a little rough stretch.
I think so. I think, you know, one thing when we talked to Todd when he was hired was implementing a system or a style that we wanted, and then understanding that through the process, you were going to acquire higher draft picks, you were going to acquire more players. Now you put those players into that style and system. So both LA and Ontario playing that similar style, but putting themselves in a position to be competitive and hopefully push for playoffs for both teams.
Were you called about your prospects from teams?
Well, I mean, every team's around. They make the calls. I would say 2 to 3 weeks before. There's just general calls, more needs. What's your plan for your team, and then ideas are put. So there's lots of different things that are talked about there.
Well, to this point of the year, where have you seen the greatest growth, or maybe surprises that maybe you've kind of
Yep.
dries a little bit?
Well, I think overall team defense 5-on-5. I think the way they played is. It's not an easy team to play against. There was a stretch there where you saw a lot of good energy early in games, and that, like I said, I think on the verse of that, the area that we need to improve to keep pushing to get in the playoffs is our special teams, and it's not just one or the other; it's both of them combined.